Is this the worst loss that you've ever seen? How can you tell? How would you even be able to know? As people sit here on the internet like, this is the worst I've ever seen. How? How do you know? Like, we've seen some pretty bad over the last number of years. This was supposed to be the season where the Bears took off. You know, the Bears went through a 14-game losing streak 2 years ago. To get to a point to where you go into this season thinking like, no, this is it. We're going to hit the ground running. We're going to make the playoffs. And I know everybody loves pointing out, like, weren't you the guy that picked the Bears to win 12 games? I was. Because the Bears were supposed to be building to something. Building to a point to where this season was supposed to be the year that the Bears were going to take off. You drafted Caleb Williams. This was going to be the guy who was going to lead us to the playoffs, the generational talent. And so for right now, as I'm sitting here witnessing a 10-game losing streak, it's fair to ask the question, is Caleb Williams the problem for all of this? We're going to dive in. And Sammy, let's go ahead and start the show.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Adam Ray.
It's Hester trying to work it back to the middle. Gets past the first wave, and here he goes. It's Hester inside the 30. Hester's going to take it all the way for a touchdown. And no flag, 92 yards.
Brought to you by Circa Sports Illinois, the sickest Chicago Bears and fantasy football podcast. Sports entertainment like no other. It's gonna be sick.
Welcome to the belated Postgame edition of the Sick Podcast with Adam Rank. So sorry for everybody who, last night I did take to TikTok and go through some things, go work through my feelings, so to speak. And now we sit here. I've had some moments to kind of digest everything that had gone on, to figure out where we stand as a franchise and really ask the tough question, is Caleb Williams the problem? I know a lot of the Justin Fields truthers are out there like, hey, last year Justin won 7 games and Justin won 5 games. Tyson Bagent won 2 of those. Justin Fields missed 4 games. So let's start right there. So Justin won 5. Caleb at best is going to win 4. Because if you're asking me, there is no way I would allow Caleb Williams to play in Week 18. You just can't do it. You can't go out there and risk the injury or anything like that. I could point to Charles Martin, but I think Charles Martin was long ago. I don't think Matt LaFleur and this Packers franchise needs to be saddled with Charles Martin. But still, I don't want him out there. I don't want them out there. I don't want them out there playing. It's like the Holiday Bowl. You know what I'm saying? Like, these college kids opt out of bowl games. Caleb should be able to opt out of this game. Be like, yeah, we're good. We've seen all that we need to see. Now, is Caleb Williams at fault for this? You're an absolute crazy person if you truly believe that Caleb Williams is completely at fault. Now, I will have a real conversation about Caleb Williams. Does he need to get better? Absolutely. Nerdstradamus. I know I agree with him. Caleb needs to be more accurate on his deep. Okay, fine. Like, there are things that Caleb needs to work on. Caleb Williams is not a finished product by any stretch of the imagination. Is he the most talented quarterback the Bears have had? Maybe, because I think Jay Cutler was very talented. But Caleb Williams is a great quarterback prospect. He is very talented. I would even go, I know a lot of you are going to tune out when I say this. He's better than Justin Fields. He's better than Justin Fields. This team would be imploding, maybe worse, without Caleb Williams. So don't even try to spin it. Justin Fields, look at the Steelers right now. Look at the Steelers offense. They're like, yeah, we're not going with him. Okay? Justin is fine. We had our chance with Justin. It didn't work. If circumstances were different, could Justin have developed? Maybe. Could Justin Fields still go someplace, find his Kevin O'Connell, and have a truly great career? I'm not going to doubt it. I'm not going to say no to that. But where we're standing right now, Caleb Williams is a better quarterback prospect. Is he a better quarterback? He's a better quarterback prospect. He just is. and you can go in and we can listen. I'll let other people show you the tape. I don't have the means to break down the tape. I will say this though, Caleb has a lot to work on. There are some things that he has to work on, but he also is in a point right now where he's picking up some bad habits because he's trying to do other things. It's kind of like when your golf swing goes away from you and you got to go out there and sort of like rebuild it. Whoever is the new offensive coordinator next season is going to have some work to do with Caleb Williams, but I don't think it's as dire. If you make some tweaks to the offense, massively overhaul the offensive line and do all that stuff, Caleb's going to be fine. Caleb threw for 3,200, 3,300 yards. He threw his first interception on a desperation heave at the end of the game. I wish Seattle would have knocked it down selfishly, but it's fine. It's cool that streak ended because it probably should end because we don't need to sit here and exaggerate too many moral victories or anything like that. Like I'm sort of glad that's out of the way. So Caleb Williams is not at fault. Caleb Williams needs to play better. I think that's fair to say. Nobody's saying that Caleb Williams is an all-pro or anything like that. He needs to play better, and I think he would admit it. And he needs to go out there and win some games. And time management needs to be something that they focus on as well as everything else that they will work on over the entirety of the season. The true blame, though, is that this roster might not have improved over the last 3 years. And I think the biggest reason why, and this has been pointed out on Twitter, so I'm kind of glomming onto this, but like the third round picks have been a disaster. You know, one of the things about Ryan Pace is that he was terrible. His first round picks blew, like were just awful. You know what I'm saying? Like Kevin White, Mitch Trubisky, Leonard Floyd actually wasn't too bad. Leonard Floyd was good I think we all got kind of carried away because Leonard Floyd playing with Aaron Donald, that was good. Yeah, if Ryan Pace, was Ryan Pace the GM when they missed out on Aaron Donald? God, oh man, what a world we would live in if the Rams had just taken somebody else. Why the hell did the Rams take? The Rams had no reason to take a defensive tackle, except they're a good franchise. In any event, yeah, maybe I'll join Laquan Jones and just start doing the Rams podcast. Hey, go sign Nick to do this podcast. Nick Moriano can come do this. I'll stick. Laquan and I will do the Rams cast. No, I'm kidding. I will say though, there were times where I was like, hey, Ryan Poles needs to stay, and I'm gonna save this for another video so we can get two gotcha headlines. This will be is Caleb Williams the problem? I don't think Caleb Williams is the problem. Let me focus in on that. I don't want to go too deep on. Ryan Poles just yet. We have the sick pick coming up later on. I'll have some thoughts on Ryan Poles. I really need a deep dive. I want to get into that before we do. He might be fired. He might be fired during this season too. He might not make it to the end of the week. So let's wait. But for Caleb Williams, I don't think that Caleb Williams is the problem. There's a lot of things that Caleb does. He's going back into those old habits of like holding onto the ball too long, not trusting what he's reading, without really going in and finding the all 22s. And there's a lot of good people who will, like Tim Jenkins will go break this down. Chase Daniel will go break this down. There are some things that happen to you once your offensive line starts breaking down. You go from a situation where you're scanning the field to being like, where am I going to get hit next? Which is part of the reason why I want Caleb Williams out of there, because it makes no sense for him to go out there and do it, because this line is going to get him injured. And so you need to go out there and put him on the bench. So it drops your eye line. It goes from this to this, this to this. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I would like to see Caleb Williams just take the day off, and then the next offensive coordinator or the next head coach, who is the offensive coordinator, whomever that may be, and whoever that might be, will have to deal. That's one of the things that coach is going to have to work on, is getting Caleb. I don't think it's the confidence, but getting him back to trusting the offensive line, trusting the protection, and trusting everything else like that. So Caleb's good. We're delayed a year. We're missing out of a year of Caleb Williams, rookie contract and all that stuff, because we've blown it on this season. This should have been a very competitive season. This should have been a season similar to what the Washington Commanders are going through right now. But unfortunately, that's not the way it worked. And our culture and our chemistry and everything like that is off. And I know a lot of people, Terrence, my friend, is out there being like, this is so bad. And I get it. But remember, this team was 4-2 on the 6 seconds away from being 5-2. This year would look a lot different. But at the same time, it would have covered, honestly, it would have covered up a lot of things that were wrong, fundamentally wrong with this team. You know what I'm saying? Like, we had a leaky refrigerator, and not William Perry. We had a leaky refrigerator. We were able to go in there and kind of assess, like, oh, the foundation's rotten. We need to go in there and fix a lot of things. So the next general manager, and we'll talk about Ryan Poles later on this week. We'll talk about him this weekend. The next general manager will have to deal with this and trying to figure out, can we fix a lot of the things that are wrong? In one season, no. In one season, absolutely not. This team is not going to the Super Bowl next year, but can this be a team that goes out there? Again, the schedule is going to be set up for the Bears. The team should be better with better draft picks. This team can have a year like Denver, like Washington, and go out there and play pretty well. But some changes need to be happening. One of the changes does not need to be the quarterback. Caleb needs to play better, but it's not all his fault. This organization has failed him, and this general manager has failed him. There were a lot of things to like coming into this season, and there was a lot of reason for us to be optimistic about the way this season was going to go. And it didn't work out, and there's a lot of pieces to pick up. Is it the quarterback's fault? And listen, he's not without blame. But to say this is Caleb Witt, no. Far too talented, far too good. One of the best rookie quarterbacks in the league in quite some time. It's okay. It's the next steps. That are going to be the most important. I think that the Bears are in a very similar spot to where they were with Trevor Lawrence. First year with Urban Meyer, it didn't work out. Was it Urban Meyer or whatever? But then you got to address and go on. That's why this next hire needs to be critical. And we'll dive into that in later videos. But listen, it sucks right now. I know it hurts. Give it some time. At least we don't have to worry about Sunday. We got 10 days before we have to be embarrassed again at Green Bay. So let's rejoice in these small victories. In any event, thank you so much for hearing me out. Don't blame Caleb. We're fine. We're not fine. We're far from fine. It will get better, and I'll explain why in future videos. But anyways, enjoy the rest of your day if you can. Arsenal plays today. And if you're listening to this later on Friday or Saturday, Arsenal played, and it was fun, I hope. I swear to God, if Arsenal lets me down, maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe, Sammy, can we start an Arsenal podcast instead? Maybe we can do that. In any event, thanks so much for being here. We'll catch you on the flip. Hope to see you soon. And bear down.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Adam Rank on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcast. Brought to you by Circa Sports Illinois.